And the branch now. See him under there? Hey, little fella. We'll leave him alone. I just wanted to point something out very quickly, and then we're going to end this video. This is Nero 600M. It's been sitting out here a long time. It hasn't spent much time in the greenhouse at all. And I had a video that I've done about Negron just a week or two ago, which, if you haven't watched it, I would like you to watch it, because there's some principles I'm trying to clarify about certain strains of varieties. Now, this is a Violet de Bordeaux type, and it has produced its Breba long ago, lots of Breba, and it has produced a few main crop figs, like right here. You can see where I picked one. I've eaten some main crop figs, so I don't want you to think that it hasn't. But you can see that it's behind my Negron, which is also a strain of Violet de Bordeaux. And I've mentioned several times that I like Negron better because it's earlier for me, a little earlier, and it certainly produces just as many fruit, if not more, than the other varieties. You can watch that video. But this variety produces an abundance, this Nero 600M, but it is only a mere strain of Violet de Bordeaux, and Negron is too. But they're different enough that their leaves are a little bit different, you can see in the videos. And even look how much smaller the main crop figs are, and look at that violet color. You know, that's why they call Violet de Bordeaux violet. But it comes from Bordeaux, you know, a region of France. And they are a highly, highly recommended variety. But remember, I mentioned that they are late. They are a bit late. And because they are just a bit late, they're probably better grown in containers. But they're reliable. They take the cold weather. You can put them in ground. If you do put them in ground, put them in a sweet spot. Remember, a sweet spot. Because otherwise, if you don't get the perfect weather, they might not get ripe on you. Some years they will, some years they won't. But if you put them in a sweet spot, if you plant them in the ground, they will often produce wonderful crops. But they are later than a lot of the other varieties, certainly much later than Ron de Bordeaux, which I recommend first, and later than Smith. But they are exquisite in taste. But look at the difference. If you look at my other videos, you will see the difference that this strain of Violet de Bordeaux will demonstrate for you. It is different enough that, well, you might like to have more than one variety, but for me, more than one strain. Let me correct that. But for me, I like Negron the best. Okay, so someone else will say they like Violet de Bordeaux the best, or maybe they like this Nero 600M, but that's for you to decide. But they're all good, and you're like every single one of them, because any of the Violet de Bordeaux's, remembering that they are late, are worth having in your collection. Okay, with that, I think we're going to close it here. I've got to take a ride to the airport now, and it was a pleasure meeting with you this morning. I'm going to eat that Black Madeira soon. This is another variety. I don't want to get into this, but look at the size of that fig. We'll talk about it. I've talked about that variety before. So I'll say goodbye to all my friends here in the greenhouse, and my Italian 258s. I hope that I've given you some useful information. I didn't get a chance to walk over to some of my other figs, my fig collection in the back of the house. I wanted to point out some things about Figo Preto, which I'll do in another video. That doghouse there has been kept there for a theft deterrent, and it was my son's many years ago with another dog that I eventually inherited. And the dog never stays in the doghouse, but she liked to be out here when I'm in the yard. She was a Great Dane, the size of a pony, and so she was very close to me. She was my sweetheart, and I used to keep her out here, and so she was so big, and she didn't like other dogs. So my neighbor had a dog, so I'd put her on a little chain, and she would stay there in the shade while I was working in the yard. She just wanted to be with me all the time. She was my sweetheart. Since we're out here, there's that Violet de Bordeaux, which has produced most of its fruit long ago, but continues to produce fruit. You can see that in another video. And this is Nordland, which, by the way, I do recommend Nordland. It's an incredible fig. It tastes so delicious, and I've got lots of them here. I've been eating them for a couple weeks, and I just haven't had time to really make a separate video of them. But here, we can break this one apart. Let's take a look at Nordland. They are sweet. They have an exquisite taste, and it's a tough fig. It's a productive fig. They're large figs, and they remind me a lot of a much better Brunswick, which I love the taste of Brunswick, but they're richer. And I shouldn't say richer in flavor. Brunswick is one of the best tasting figs in the world. It really is, but it's basically useless in our climate because it just splits so terribly. It's just a horrible fig for growing in the Northeast. But this one reminds me of Brunswick a lot because of its size, the way it looks, and the way it tastes. But you can grow it in the Northeast very successfully. Look at that little guy, a little ant right there. He wants to call out hunks. When we were kids, we used to call out hunks when some other little boy or girl in the neighborhood would come out eating something good from the house. And that ant wants to call hunks on me. So I'll just let him go. He's not going to hurt anything for a little while here. But okay, so Nordland. You will like Nordland. And with that, thank you for visiting. And I'm off to the airport. I don't get a chance to show you my fig garden out back, but I hope I provided a lot of information that will be of some use to you. Remember Ron de Bordeaux? Ron de Bordeaux. Remember that. Wonderful variety to have in your collection. And some of the other varieties that I've shown you this summer. This is fun. I'm having fun. And I hope it's been useful for you. Have a great day. Until next time, so long.